Okay, I'm ready.
I'm reading.
In bed.
All right. Last film, Pride and Prejudice, is the retelling of the classic novel by Jane Austen of the same name with the debut film, What?
From director Joe Wright, who would later go on to make 2007's Atonement for that.
Why are you laughing at me? I did it right.
Michael said something funny earlier, and then you didn't hear it. It's okay.
Okay. Wright encouraged deviation from the text, which is probably why this film was such a success. The film was commercially and critically successful, making $121 million worldwide, and currently sits at an 86% positive score on Rotten Tomatoes, and it should. Genre conversation fave Roger Ebert gave the film 4 out of 4 stars, which is the perfect score if you can't do math. The film is one of the shorter romantic epics of all time, clocking in at only 129 minutes.
Right.
Mind you, there is the BBC version, which I didn't recommend because I didn't know if these guys would want to sit through 10 hours of Pride and Prejudice, which is
I would
more
not sit
book
through 10
accurate.
hours. I'm
No,
sorry.
I wouldn't have sat through it either.
I did, and I continually would again and again and again because I love
Issues.
this story.
Man, is this movie pretty though? Holy.
It
This movie is gorgeous.
is.
I actually,
Like the lighting. Oh,
dude,
The one,
so
I only have
we
one
forgot
complaint
to
with the
score the
lighting.
last movie.
oh, I forgot to score Titanic. We did.
Oh,
That's right.
right.
You're falling apart on us, man.
2 out of 5. That's what I gave Titanic.
I would give Titanic about...
A better 2 out of 5 than Out of Africa though.
So
yeah, so you have to give it a different number then.
2.1 out of 5.
No,
Okay.
we're only doing half stars, so it'll have to be 2.5.
2 out of 5. Okay, go Michael.
I would give it about a 3.5.
yeah,
high.
I'm summer.
I thought you were gonna give it like a 1.
I'm probably 3.5. I can't
3.5.
decide.
Okay.
If I could give it 3.25.
I also have to look at, again, the amount that this movie influenced cinema. I mean, we've already agreed that for... I'm getting off track.
Yeah.
So
Pride
we're
and
moving
Prejudice.
to Pride and Prejudice.
Okay, tell me why you like this movie, because if you say
I
anything
like
bad
this
about it,
movie.
I'm going to throw you
It's
out.
pretty.
It is.
It's
I
very
want to
pretty.
see that, and we're recording, so it's the perfect timing.
It's very pretty.
I would not say it's the best movie ever. I'm
Well,
sorry.
it's not the best movie ever.
But
I'm
it's
not saying
good.
it is.
It makes me want to go
It's-
and watch Atonement. Like,
It does.
I really do want to go, which is something I've always been meaning to go see, but I really want to watch that now.
I've watched Pride and Prejudice twice, and for me, having not watched Titanic, it's the most watchable movie on this list.
Oh, without a doubt, it is the most watchable, not just because of the runtime, but because it's actually like romantic. Which is
Yes.
And it ends happily.
I remember
romantic.
that. I remember that, regardless of my other gripes, like the first time I watched it, I was too young, so it felt way too long for me. But I did buy the romance.
Like, it's naturally romantic.
You
more
want
so than
them to
other
get together.
films are. Yeah.
And you need that.
I'm going to say everything about this movie. First off, the casting of this film was brilliant. I can't say enough on how well, like, all this cast, like, if you watched, I watched the behind-the-scenes stuff all the time, and this cast was, I just don't think it could have been done better. My one complaint is you said the lighting, and my least favorite part was the makeup job done in the scene, like, where Darcy and Lizzie are on that little bridge in the field.
Yeah.
The makeup on Lizzie, or Kira.
That's the
Knightley.
makeup, though.
The makeup
The makeup
done
on Akira?
Well,
On Keira
makeup
Knightley.
on Kira was
Okay.
way too, like, you could obviously tell she had a flawless face, whereas
Yeah.
Matthew, who played Darcy, was not. And I
think that's more of a makeup issue than that.
Well, it is a makeup
Was that
issue.
a makeup
Continuity.
issue, or was
Yeah.
that reflective of
Continuity.
the time?
No.
It's a
Because
It was-
makeup
it-
that you
no,
No,
see
she's
it
saying,
was-
she's saying it was a mistake because
It was a
Keira Knightley's
mistake.
face is made up.
Yeah,
very
it
well,
was like
but
a
his
flawless face. And if, like,
his
if,
isn't. So
But the
it-
guy isn't supposed to look flawed.
I
No,
think it's like
but-
continuity.
if you
issue
look at the
probably.
movie and the way the lighting is, the light's supposed to be shining on her, and it's way too dark for her to be in that same scene at the same time because it's a sunrise. And the light coming from him, you can see he has rosy cheeks. He looks like he's been walking around for a while, whereas she looks flawless. Like, she just, like, went and did her face. She looks like it's about, like, noon, but there's no sun on her, and she looks like she, like did perfect foundation on her face. And I
Maybe they
think
had
that
to
was
take
wrong.
her out of the scene because her face actually caused glare
Well,
emit from it.
no, I think what happened was
That'd
they
be
filmed
kinda
it
funny.
at 2 different times. They filmed
Yeah,
her
and then-
first, and then they filmed the sunrise just as he was walking in.
And then whoever did the continuity editing
Yeah, and
screwed
it's-
up later.
Yeah, somebody realized, oh wait,
Whoops.
her face is too perfect. Because if you look at any Jane Austen style movie, there is little to no makeup anywhere because obviously, to be historically accurate, there wasn't any makeup really at the time. There wasn't. So a lot of the movies, like if you watch Emma, you watch Sense and Sensibility, you watch any of these
I
movies.
like how we just named a whole bunch of Jane Austen.
Well, because I
I'm
can't
just
sit and
getting
watch
this
one
really
Jane
funny
Austen. I have
mental
to watch
image
them.
of this really French editor, and he's like, her face, I cannot touch it. It's like the Mona Lisa. It's perfect.
Oh, but his face, is no good.
I apologize for my horrific accent. French people, everyone to stone me to death. I actually like France.
Okay, Matt.
Okay, moving
I like
along.
we didn't mention soccer at all too. Like, yeah.
Stop.
I don't believe soccer has much to do with Pride and Prejudice.
No.
It doesn't, unfortunately. There should be that would be hilarious.
That's really random. You should
is.
be more focused like me.
It should be.
We're going to drag Tom out into a field after this and leave him there. Anyway.
Actually, we need to apologize for this episode. We're only at a pathetic 1 face desk for.
I know. I can't believe it.
Ow! Make that 2.
Yeah, you hit the corner. You hit the corner of the desk.
Ow.
Anyway, what else
Oh,
would you
God.
like to say about this film, other than the fact that it was awesome?
It's just
It
beyond
definitely
gorgeous.
exists.
I could watch this movie and just like on mute and just watch it. Like just watch how pretty it is.
The music, though, is one of my favorite parts
I mean,
of
yeah,
this
like, the
movie.
music
That
is great.
piano score, like I don't even know what it's called, but it's memorable.
The music is really good. I just because of how kind of gorgeous the film is, I could watch this like all day. Like basically, like I could just
Permanently.
not permanently because I have to go back and watch Sorcerer again at some point.
Would you memorize every second of this movie?
No,
I almost have.
I have memorized every second of Hoosiers though, pretty much.
That's
You
like
know-
me in RV.
You know,
I've
like
memorized
no,
those
you know, like
RV.
you've memorized the movie, not just when you know like what's happening on the screen. Like you memorize what's gonna happen, but when you know every sound, like you can pretty much quote what'll happen like by
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah, when you can write the script out in your mind, yeah.
Yeah, like that is
I actually have a few games like that. So
Yeah.
that is
that's,
like yeah, like
Everybody
when you can
has
do
that, if
When
not
you can do
everybody.
that, that's pretty intense.
But no,
All right.
the reason why I really like this movie too is because it's literally a true romance in a time period where that wasn't the case.
Where romance wasn't that
Well,
necessary.
no, because if you think about the time period, you married for money, right? You didn't
Yeah.
marry somebody
You're
unless
married
you
to
were
be married.
Well, unless you were
Like-
Darcy and you're freaking rich and you can marry whoever
You marry to get married.
Yeah,
you
you
don't
marry-
marry because
You marry to
Yeah.
marry and get money, or to raise yourself in social standing. And in this case, you look at the tragedy of these, well, not the tragedy, that's not the wrong word, but the unfortunate circumstance of the Bennett daughters, and even like with Lydia, who ends up running off and like getting herself like eloped to some guy who is obviously an asshole. Wickham is an
And the
asshole.
ne'er-do-well.
But-
Because that word isn't used often.
Ne'er-do-well,
enough.
yeah.
It kind
Where's
of
that
makes you
used at
feel
all?
good because even in a situation where things aren't great, they're not bad, but they're not great. You still end up with a happy ending. Like
You
despite
have that kind of. It's a really interesting movie that way because it talks about romance as it is,
Mhm.
and then it gives you that idealization anyway.
Yeah,
And it's not. It is that idealization, and yet it's broken the stereotype enough that it works. You buy those feelings, and
yeah,
you buy remembering when you idealized romance, and you see the difference,
Yeah.
and you're like, yes, that's something we should.
yeah. Because it's all about misunderstanding. It's about second chances. It's about forgiving, and it's just something you want to connect to, and you just want to see them succeed.
Out of all of the films, this was the one that I felt the best after watching. Like after
Yeah,
I was done, I was
definitely.
like, yeah, that was I
I
feel
like
good
that
after seeing that.
there's character journey for both the characters in this as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Definitely
it's
agree.
probably not that massive, but you do see them changing and adapting and trying to make their relationship work, which is something most modern teen romances desperately need.
I agree.
And both characters have to do it, which
Is
again,
wait,
is
let me
definitely
just pause for a
what they
second.
need.
Pause for a second. Is Twilight though like the definition of your modern teen romance?
Twilight is the definition of what you should teach teens in order to live unhappy romantic lives.
yeah, because I think
I'm
Well,
dead. I'm not even joking.
No,
I'm
I
dead
agree.
serious.
I agree with you because even I talk to older couples and they say back in my day, instead of just ditching somebody, you would work out your problems, and instead of just leaving, you would actually try and mend something. And that's what I like about this movie is there's obvious flaws, and with all of us there are obvious flaws in everybody, but what makes a great relationship is you see those flaws, you both realize them, okay, how can we make this work, instead of, oh, you're broken, I'm out.
Exactly.
What? Have I just...
That was like 10 out of 10 most beautiful thing ever.
Oh, thank you.
That's very true. And Twilight doesn't cover that at all.
No.
Twilight basically says, are you in an abusive relationship? Do you hate each other?
Why are you not in one?
You should stay.
Why?
You should stay. You shouldn't attempt to change. That's for lesser people. I'm like, no. Change is integral to the process of romance.
No. And you shouldn't, just to clarify, you shouldn't change yourself to be in a romance.
You both change
together. Yes,
you change because you want to change.
Exactly. You shouldn't just change yourself to Bella changes herself.
Bella basically like I'm going to mold myself into his ideal woman. That's unhealthy.
Yeah, no, that's not what you should do.
It's the small changes along the way.
In this movie, where she's like, where Lizzie and Darcy are both wrong. They both are in their separate characters, but when they come together, they morph and they realize, oh.
And they learn to grow while being true to themselves.
Yeah, and they grow, and they became better people as the result of it. And that's what a true romance should be.
And the fact that it captures that so well is what makes this a great movie.
Yeah.
More than anything else. I mean, if this movie had a quarter of its budget, most of the stars sucked, and they still got that thing right, and they still sold that romance, it would still be a great movie.
And the fact that it just had a great cast, it was shot beautifully. This film, if you do not know this story by now, either go read it, go watch this movie, or do both like I have.
And then apologize for your parents for not having done so earlier.
That's one of the reasons why, though, like romantic epics fail, is because they don't actually hit the romance, because there's so much other things that they're focused on. And Prejudice, because of how kind of streamlined Pride and Prejudice is as a story.
It works perfectly.
It works perfectly.
I mean, I still could have... I see the potential to have trimmed this down even more, but you see the potential
to trim everything, though.
Yes, that's true. But
that's a video game person in him, though. It's like, what's essential? We need to get the essentials, and that's it. Whereas I like a little bit.
It might have been maybe we only trimmed out 4 more minutes.
Yeah, you didn't need.
Even so, this movie is tightly focused enough that you aren't confused about what's happening or why or who's important. It says what it needs to say very clearly.
Exactly. And it's for somebody like me who likes bang, bang, boom, let's go, let's go, let's go.
And I like the shorter runtime, I have to admit.
I do have to admit that it's very easy to sit through 129 minutes compared to 3 hours for Titanic. Or 170 for Out of Africa. It's a lot easier.
It's hard to sit through. But mind you, there's the BBC one.
Mind you, Heaven's Gate is one of my favorite films.
True.
220 minutes.
True. And the BBC version of this, which is running on 10 hours with hour-long episodes, which captures the story to a T. This one isn't exactly book accurate, but it's still easier to sit through just because of how streamlined it is.
I would say, I'm going to go on a limb here and say that if Pride and Prejudice was made exactly to the book, that would be very poor directing. You're not being asked to write Pride and Prejudice. You're being asked to convert the story of Pride and Prejudice into a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you do that, you have to take the strengths of the movie into account.
Yeah.
And its weaknesses.
One of the strengths of cinema.
Yeah, exactly.
You can see everything.
It's true. I agree with that 100%. It's also very cool if you want to see the way it should have been. Like, if you were to take the book word for word and see it on screen, that's also
BBC
very cool,
is so good for that.
Yeah, they were very good for that.
Everything
you have to like BBC.
Both are very good. They're both very different, but they're both very good. And I because the BBC one is Colin Firth, Jennifer Hale in it. It's excellent for its own reason. Colin Firth, come on, Colin Firth's awesome.
He does have a funny
name. I know, he's pretty great.
I'm really agree.
This one is great for its own thing too, and I quite like it.
Rating out of 5.
Definitely, I would give it 4.5. Definitely.
What do you got?
I would give it about... Yeah, you give it about 4.5.
I'll give it 3.5.
You're dead to me.
Solid.
Dead to you? Good. All right.